everybody. Welcome. Hi, Brian Clark. Welcome to Facebook and YouTube and AWAI. How are you today?
I'm great, Jade. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. This is an exciting topic, so I'm glad that we're getting further into it. As the banner announces, you introduced to the AWAI audience last week what we were calling a clientless launchpad. If anybody missed last week, can you just give a description as to what we are talking about today when we talk about a clientless launchpad?
Well, yeah, I took people back to when I started Copyblogger, which was basically 20 years ago right now. And I told them, last week I was very much struggling to find an audience to get any kind of traction or attention whatsoever. And I eventually did find that catalyst, and I can credit basically everything that happened since then to that one document, that one piece of content, because without it, I wouldn't have ever attracted the audience in the first place. So it's really easy to kind of draw a line back and go, wow, I sold like $70 million worth of stuff in the 10 years after that. And then I've done stuff even after Copyblogger was acquired. So, yeah, and I basically explained why that document worked the way it did and why this is the type of content we especially need to create now that we're deluged with all this AI content. But as the presentation established, it's also what worked 20 years ago. It's what works because it's timeless as long as human beings are involved. And nowadays we got to be more human than ever.
Totally agree. So every time you have now launched a business, you create this content that brings an audience in, right? Is that like how you would give it a one sentence description? Does that sound accurate?
It was the way I attracted my initial audience, and that audience has traveled with me for quite a while now. So that's the beauty of doing one of these things at the beginning. But every time I would launch a new product or a new brand, I would do a similar document that wasn't just brand new out of nowhere. It was related to the initial promise that I made to my audience, or the thing that I told them was going to work for them, and it turned out to be true, right?
Wow,
And
yeah.
that's the key. You have to find the right promise, the right belief to instill in your audience. But that can be initially to attract an audience, but it can be every time you launch a new product. We launch courses, software, software as a service, hosting, events, membership communities, right? All these different ways that you can make money. We pretty much hit them all. And each time I would use a similar uh, document that made the case why this was the right thing at the right time for the right people.
So I'm so glad you brought up audience and ways and things that you monetize because I want to make it super clear to everyone. When we say client list, it just means you're not getting a project from a client that you're then writing for. This is your own, right? And you're building and you need an audience. And it is something, Brian, when you teach, you want people to monetize this at the end, right? This is not hobby writing that we're talking about.
Oh, no, 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 no hobby writing. No, so yeah, I went clientless in 2006 when I started Copyblogger, which just means I shifted from client services, which my first three businesses focused on, to creating products and attracting customers. So that's the
Mhm.
distinction. When you have a product-based business, we could say product-based, but
Yeah.
a lot of people who get into copywriting and content marketing do serve clients, which can be awesome. But some people get sick of it and they want to do something else. I was one of those people. And other people just want to diversify, take the best
Yes.
clients and then sell products and other stuff to diversify their revenue.
And it's very symbiotic at the same time, right? Like what you're doing over here for your own product or clientless business, you can also be doing for serving clients. And even with the Launchpad, we've discussed the same thing, right? It's not things that are like very mutually exclusive where they don't overlap or they couldn't overlap.
Without a doubt. I mean, in my view, everyone should start off with clients and then move on when they're
Yeah,
ready.
yeah,
But a good mix. But yeah, this type of piece of content is really about getting whatever kind of prospect you're after to believe a certain new thing in order to do business with you. And that's the
yeah,
whole ball game. That's
yeah.
This isn't about 9 months of creating content to hope to make a few bucks. This is about bonding very quickly with the right people so that they're ready to give you money, whether it's clients or client services or products, whatever you may be the case.
And another thing that we haven't really touched on, you mentioned like the $70 million publishing empire that was built from this, but it was also with no ad spend. Is that correct?
No advertising, no investors, bootstrapped. I spent 3 grand before
Wow.
I earned all my money back to the tune of, well, I didn't get to keep the whole 70 million
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we were an 8-figure business and we did quite well.
Well, so let's just touch on that because somebody might not be familiar, they might be new to marketing. Can you just touch on why the fact that there was is so like huge and why that is so important, like that's something that everyone probably aspires to once they realize what is involved in ad spend. If you want to touch on that just for a second.
I missed just the
Sorry,
very
I know, I
beginning
think
of
I
what you
broke
said.
out. Sorry. And
Yeah.
so can you just touch on why it's so huge and why we are emphasizing the fact that there is no ad spend and what that ballpark looks like
Oh, I
now, or
see.
that
Yeah.
for anybody that's not familiar or new to
Well, the
marketing.
thing is, and I really started keying in on trying to figure out how these, I call them unity magnets, how they work, and to be able to break them down and explain it to anyone, because getting traffic has changed.
Yes.
It's search engines are changing and AI is kind of replacing them. Social media is trying to lock you down on the platform and not let you drive traffic to your site. So I was thinking, well, if you have to spend money, you sure need one of these things, right?
Mm,
But in the last couple of years, we've been finding new ways to generate traffic and all that good stuff. So yes, it is important that the organic methods that I kind of pioneered 20 years ago can still work. But I think the stakes are higher.
yes,
You don't
agreed.
have time to just mess around as much,
Yes.
and too many people do. And what happens is they give up before they get there. It's not that they're never going to succeed.
Yeah.
They just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they may be close. So I advise people to understand specifically what you're doing right out of the gate, create the strongest possible content right at the beginning, and your odds of quicker success, but also just success in general, go way up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's, to me, this whole opportunity and learning to do this is so huge because like the questions that so many people once you get into marketing have is the like, how do I attract an audience, right? And then once you get into the whole ad spend, like, search traffic, like that is always such a like a wild world, and to overcome all that with just like
Oh
great
yeah,
content at the
even I
top.
still don't know how to do it. I would talk to you guys, people on your team know how to do it. Um, and that's where I would go. But
Yeah.
so far, I'm still using content and so-called free traffic. I
Yeah.
mean, you have to work for it one way or
Yes.
another. You're either spending money or you're spending time. Um, but this is how I've done it, and I enjoy doing it that way. So yeah, yeah, I think that's dead on.
Okay, so let's talk about you. I think the name that you use somewhat gives it away with Unity Magnet, right? But can you get into the psychology of why this works, like the neurocoupling phenomenon and the messenger effect, and like how that assists this content?
Right. So, I think most people have heard of lead magnets, but if not, it's basically a piece of valuable content that you promise if someone signs up to your newsletter, your blog, whatever, they give you their email address, right? And you want them to give a good email address, one that they check, and they also are not going to just unsubscribe right away anyways. So, these Unity magnets are something stronger, and I'll talk in just a second about the Unity part. But really what you're trying to do, for example, let's say your Unity magnet is a 5-part email course. Well, they have to keep paying attention for at least 5 days or however long it's going in order to get the promise, right? But what a Unity magnet does is right out of the gate connects with them in a way that is surprising, that goes beyond the information that you promised. And this all has to do with principles of influence, right? That social psychologists have studied, but in reality, they're really just validating what salespeople have known throughout the years, and goes all the way back 2,000 years to Aristotle, who perfected a lot of these persuasion techniques a long time ago. But social psychologists later come on and go, okay, people tell us this is true, let's prove it. And so they do controlled studies and everything. So anyway, there were 6 principles of influence that do date back, many, many, many years. But Dr. Robert Cialdini did the experiments or documented the experiments that prove things like social proof and authority and reciprocity and all these different principles of influence. Liking. Do we really like to do business more with people we like? Yes, we do. And they tested for it and controlled it. So he wrote a book called Influence and became very, very famous, and did a lot of consulting for big corporations and all that good stuff. But there were 6 principles. And then something like, I believe 20 years, maybe 15 years later, he came out in 2016 and said, guess what? There's one more principle of influence I missed. It's the most powerful of all. And in fact, many of these other principles of influence don't really work without it. And that was unity. And what that means, quite simply, is a shared identity with your prospect, the person you're trying to persuade. And we know this looking at the internet. People are tribal, right? If you're in my tribe, then I'll listen to you. If you're not, I don't like you.
You're wrong.
Yeah. And human beings have been this way since the beginning. That's where the word tribal comes from. But I would suggest to you that the internet has placed more emphasis on our identity as a means of expression. And that's really what we bond with other people over in a stronger way, thanks to digital media. So when it comes to the way that we all do marketing now, you cannot ignore identity, and you cannot ignore shared identity. So you have to demonstrate that you're like your ideal prospect in important ways, while also saying, I'm like you, but I'm ahead of you in solving this kind of problem, and that's why you should follow me. So in effect, you're talking about leadership, right? We talk about thought leadership, and we think that's some hoity-toity thing for, Harvard-educated people who write books. But no, it's anyone who follows anyone else who creates content because they think, I like what this person is talking about. I like who this person is, right? And this is really the secret. And that's what we do. Even what I did 20 years ago, here's what I do today. It's the same effective technique. I just think it's more important than ever.
So it's like that content makes him say, I see myself in this person. I agree with what they're saying. I want to be a part of their tribe, but also I guess the layer that I'm so glad you brought in is like, I want to learn more from them, right? And that's what keeps them clicking when they're getting this content in their inbox, or however they're receiving this information from you. Is that accurate?
Right. And you mentioned earlier, there's some kind of wild theories and science that go along with this that establishes that Cialdini was right about unity being so powerful. The principle of merger is when you're
Mhm.
so like-minded with someone else that you kind of stop seeing yourself as a separate person and you feel like you're part of them. I know that sounds crazy, but they've got the data to back it up. Even more so, brain scans that show something called neurocoupling, where your brain waves literally sync when this unity effect kicks in, right? That's what we're going after. That's not cheap tricks and
No.
parlor kind of marketing. That's the real deal.
Yeah.
And that's been the secret of my success the entire time. And it goes all the way back to when I used to practice law. We knew that more than the facts and more than the law, if you can make the jury like your client, then there was a better chance they would get a favorable outcome. But first, they had to like you. How do you make them like you? No one likes lawyers, right? Well, you had to make them feel like you were one of them.
So let's paint the whole picture now, and we'll get into some more questions to make it super obvious. So you create this like really valuable content up at the top when somebody first meets you that lets them see themselves in you, in your mission, and has them wanting to learn more from you. You deliver this like it's really hefty, like amazing content at the top. And then if they decide like this is my tribe, these are my people, then you have products and services available for them and the rest of the tribe. Is that like a very simmered down version of what this looks like?
It is, but like when I started Copy Blogger, I didn't even have a product yet. So
Really?
I had this audience that, showed up after I finally connected with them and, just went another year. And it was the most remarkable response with people were just like, look, just take my credit card already. When are you going to sell something? Like
Wow.
it got to the point where people were somewhat distressed that I hadn't sold them something because they didn't understand why I was
So
giving away all this
disarming.
content. I'm like, I'm getting to it. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure I get it right.
I mean, do you think, I mean, I'm so glad I don't think we've talked about this before, Brian, but I'm so glad you brought that into the conversation. Do you think that somebody that wants to learn from you how to create this Unity Magnet or Clientless Launchpad could go in with that intention of just the intention of wanting to build a like-minded community and group and then see what that community needs and build the product from there?
That's what I did for 10 years, every time.
Wow.
Yeah. The audience will tell you what they need, what they want. You combine that with your own unique perspective, and you're able to come up with, like our first three products were very unique. There was nothing else like them out there. Later on, we started moving into web hosting and a CMS and things that there were obviously other products just like that they could buy from someone else.
Mm,
Why did they buy from us? Because it was us,
mm,
because it was me. They trusted me. I had not steered them wrong, and everyone needs web hosting, so why not buy it from Copyblogger? Because they have serious hosting needs. I feel like they're going to take good care of me. See? So I made this point earlier today, just posting something on social media that, AI can do a lot of stuff, but it can't be you.
mhm,
Humans will follow you from platform to platform. Humans will buy your next product because it's you, right? So everyone's hung up on AI, but the last thing you want to do is create AI content that doesn't connect with humans. Now you can absolutely use AI as your sidekick,
yeah.
as your partner, as long as you understand the human elements that are unique to you, and everyone has them, right? So when I teach people how to do this, it's not them following some blueprint. I give them how to express what's unique about them.
Mhm.
That's the key. And we find what's unique about them together. I told you before, it's like business therapy. I don't know if that is a good analogy or not, but it is because the answer's inside of you,
Mhm.
and I've learned how to pull it out.
But I also just think as a writer, this is so exciting because like if you have a passion about anything or I think it goes deeper than an opinion or a belief. That's the perfect word. The belief about anything, and you want to get together a community of people that can share that and that can learn from you. And it all starts with writing. This is like the perfect thing for a writer, and I love that it disarms that whatever is going to come from it that can come later. That's not the goal from like opening as soon as you open the gates to this. But I know another question that we get all the time is like, what if I don't have that thing yet? What if I don't have that belief yet? What if I don't have that passion for the singular one thing? What advice do you have for people that love to write but don't feel like they have that thing yet?
Well, in that case, I generally give people some preliminary materials and exercises
Mm-hmm.
that help with that. And it works better than you might think because
Yeah.
people think the right answer, the right topic, the right niche is somewhere out there. No, it's in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to be guided to understand that what you care about is more important than what Google Trends says is what people are talking about right now. Because if people have a problem and there's money to be made by solving that problem, all you have to do is add your own sense of purpose to it, and you're going to have a winning combination there. So that is an aspect of how I pre-prepare people. But a lot of people know
Yeah.
what they care about. Lots of people have years of experience in something, but they're not sure to differentiate themselves from people who have, people who did
Similar.
go to Harvard or
Yeah.
whatever, the credentials thing. Trust me, it's not credentials that matter. And again, a lot of people don't like people from Harvard. So that's not it. If you
Yeah.
connect with them emotionally, they'll choose you.
Well, let's just to make the picture crystal clear, can you talk about further and just like your mission and your belief and then like what you've built from there, just so people can get a picture of what's possible, what this looks like?
Well, yeah. So further was just a project I did while I was still CEO of Copy Blogger because I wanted to talk about anything other than content marketing. And then we sold the company, and I took a little bit of time off and traveled with my family. And, I remember we were in France in the fall of 2018, and I read a book called The Longevity Economy. And I had also noticed that more and more of what I was talking about in Further, which started off as like general personal development, was really centered around issues about midlife because that's where I was at, right? And then I was like, oh, well, this is the biggest market that with all the money, and people don't realize that. And this is what I care about. This is my personal sense of purpose. So Further became my post acquisition project because what people were asking me, are you going to retire now that you got all that money? And I'm like, no, I will do nothing but end up in trouble or jail if I don't have something to do. I like what I do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the concept of retirement is a difficult one because we all have days where we're like, God, it'd be great to do nothing. But then you do want to do something,
Yeah.
and that what you want to build is a business that allows you to take time off when you need it, to travel as much as you want. And that's the life I live now. So
Mm.
I'm still doing meaningful work. We're in Costa Rica right now. We're about to head to France again. So to me, this is better than what retirement really is, which for most people is sitting around watching TV and worrying about running out of money. Here, I get to, continue earning money to fund my travels, leave all that other money to the kids because they're going to need it, trust me. Right?
Adopt me, Brian,
And
adopt me.
still, but I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the key.
So let's so then you knew you were having this experience, so you knew other people were having this experience too, but then you had some answers to the problem of what they were experiencing, right? And that's where you became
Yeah.
like a little bit of the leader.
Well, honestly, what's happening to Gen X now with the convergence of companies needing fewer people from AI and otherwise, ageism, all of this thing, all of these things are coming and going to end with Gen Xers losing their jobs. Meanwhile, they're going to live longer lives, and they're not under the current system, they're not employable anymore. So what do you do, when you've got all this time left? It's literally the biggest problem that I've ever tackled in my career. It's more than I can do alone, but I can help my people who choose to have my help do something better, because big companies need fewer people, but the same technology that leads to that allows us to create these tiny little businesses that connect strongly with other human beings. And that's why you understand why the Unity Magnet, I feel, is like the culmination of my life's work. This is everything that I've learned over the years applied to, in the case of Further, a very big problem.
Yeah. So I think you have just answered a question that we have, but I'll still ask it to you. But if anybody wants to learn more about this Unity Magnet training that Brian is doing with AWAI, you can go to this link below. But Caregiving Daughters was saying, what is your motivation for teaching this course? And it sounds like you somewhat touched on it, Brian, but if you want to go a little bit further into like why are you doing this and why now?
Yeah, so in addition to, focusing on um, my fellow Gen Xers and the problems we're facing with what I call the longevity squeeze, meaning living longer, healthier lives is a good thing. Being unemployed before you're ready or able to retire is a horrible thing, right? It wrecks the whole dynamic. So that was one thing. Beyond that, though, like I was saying, I remember sitting in France that fall, having probably a glass of, oh, good, I can't even remember. It was some sort of red wine. But, and just finally, after just over 10 years of just go, 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 I had time to reflect, and I had time to think about a lot of the stuff that I did intuitively. Not that I didn't understand what I was doing. I practiced
Yeah.
law. I studied copywriting.
Yeah.
I went into it hard before I started Copy Blogger. But during those 10 years, I learned even more. But that was the first chance I had to really reflect. And that's when I kind of looked back and I'm like, if it weren't for that report you put out in month 3 of Copy Blogger, none of this might have happened. And that led me to start studying. I've read more than one social psychology textbook, right? Trying to get the truly academic, scientific side of this, read the neuroscience, all of the good stuff. Like I knew what I did.
Yeah.
And it's so very much the guru thing to like, this is what works for me. Just listen to what I say. But that's not going to work for people like me. And so therefore, I don't do that to other people. I'm going to tell you what I did.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why it worked, but I'm going to back all of it up with the science as well.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then I started coaching people on a procedure that I had arrived at by doing all that studying. And by working with these coaching clients, I figured out what worked and what didn't, what people understood, what things they got stuck on. So it's not until now that I would try to do this way,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Yeah.
did the work, I did the background, tested it on real live people who paid me a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which thankfully they're all happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they wouldn't like me saying that. But yeah, I don't just come at this casually. This is probably what I consider, a lot of content marketing courses I don't think much of. Maybe that's because I've done it before. These kids were out of diapers, but no. But I say it's a culmination of my life's work because I think it's the most important thing. Like, in this course, I'll teach you exactly what to do. But really, what I'm handing to you is the ability to understand this stuff at a very deep level with the science and all of that behind you so that you can transcend what I teach you and you can start doing things your own way.
Agree.
And that is very important
Yeah.
because this isn't, okay, what are you going to have to buy from me next kind of thing. I think if you understand this, you've got the ball game. We'll see.
Yeah.
There may be other things. I may be useful yet, but that's the way I view this, because it really is the essence of audience first persuasion. Why does it work? Why does one person connect and get a big audience while another person who may be smarter, who may have better credentials, better expertise, and they go nowhere? Doesn't seem fair.
Or
Well,
better product, right?
this is the difference.
Yeah, yeah. We have a great question here from Mike, and we have a couple coming in. He said, we're all familiar with lead magnets. Does this course go beyond that, or is it different in some way? What makes your method more persuasive? Which you somewhat touched on, where you've gone into the science of what actually makes this work. But I'll let you answer this, Brian, of what makes this difference and why is it just beyond a regular lead magnet?
Well, here's the thing. On one hand, you do offer this as, an ethical bribe for someone to trust you enough to give you their email address. But here's the problem that I spotted, and it's been many, many years in the making. People forgot what the first piece of content is supposed to be for. They think of lead magnets as only getting an email address. But if someone gives you a fake email address, what have you accomplished? If someone unsubscribes as soon as they download your little checklist, see, like that's the thing. People started testing what gets the most opt-ins. Oh, this checklist got more opt-ins than my free report that actually had some human connection in it. So I'm going to go with the checklist. What are you really trying to do? It's not the number of people that sign up to your email list. It's the number of people on your email list that are going to buy from you. Marketers do this all the time. They measure the wrong thing, right? Your opt-in rate doesn't matter if you're selling less. And this is what people do with lead magnets all the time. So I wanted to reframe it because number one, thinking in terms of leads is antiquated. Audience first is different. You have many, many shots at conversion when you court an audience as opposed to treating them like a 30-day lead. Okay. And then number two, the point is to really connect with people right from the beginning, almost to the point where you're trying to make them buy right away, even if you have nothing to sell. But if they feel that way about you, they'll be like those people at the beginning of Copy Blogger. Just sell me something already. How different is that from people who are going, oh God, here comes the pitch. Damn it, I'm just going to have to endure this because this person's content is otherwise, okay with me.
Yeah.
That's not what you want.
Yeah.
That's not a super fan, right? We hear about this all the time, the 1,000 true fans, the super fans who buy everything that you put out. And yet we understand these concepts and then we don't do what's necessary to get those kind of people.
Yeah, yeah. So Sheila might not be familiar with Further. Can you just clarify the connection about like what Further is and how the Unity Magnet worked for you and Further?
Well, so on one hand, you have to understand that I have an audience and I have for 20 years. So some of those people came over to Further. And yet I tried just as hard with my initial content, right? The only difference is in the execution. And that's why I don't just say, go look at that, because you're not me, just like I wasn't Seth Godin 20 years ago, right? People always like, well, Seth Godin doesn't focus on his titles. And I'm like, you're not Seth Godin, right? And without any arrogance, I can say today, most of you are not me, right?
Yeah.
But you get to a certain point when you get the initial audience, it will go with you. That I was making that point earlier. They'll follow you even beyond. If you grow a company and sell it, you'll still have some of them with you, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I make my case with a unity magnet with further. I didn't have to hit some elements like shared values and identity as much because um, my people have that with me, but I had to make my case for what they needed to believe, right? And I went out just as hard on that as I did with anything. So the only thing relevant about Further is a project. You know, when
Mm-hmm.
I came back from my world travels with my kids, I also started a community called Unemployable. I only had a
Yeah.
list of 4,000 people, whittled that down to 500, and
Wow.
launched a membership community with 100 people who paid a good fee, and a new business was born just like that. It wasn't a giant list,
Yeah.
it was a bunch of people who trusted me.
When you launched further, were you at that point? This was after France, and you were cognizant of the fact that you believed that the Unity Magnet was the thing that you needed to have at the front of the business to launch
Well,
and to
I
bring.
had already known it. I just didn't
Okay,
have a name for
name
it.
for
I
it.
didn't
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
necessarily have all the right. Like I
yeah,
knew what I did.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
not like I didn't understand. You know, so at Copy Blogger, it was funny because we would try to explain to people why our content worked so well, and we tried to do it with the existing principles of influence that we had,
mhm,
which was liking and authority, the likable expert. And yet we knew it was something way bigger than
yeah,
that.
yeah,
We just didn't necessarily have the scientifically backed language to explain it. So we would explain it in other ways. But when Cialdini announced the unity principle, we had something that was actually backed up by studies to go, yeah, this is it.
yeah, yeah,
And then so it's just been defined and therefore teachable as opposed to something Brian does, because I don't write for clients. I
hmm,
don't take clients except for the coaching clients that I've done in the last several years. Um, so when I write for myself, I know what to do if I understand who I'm talking to.
yeah,
And this is just accumulated. You know, you'll be the same way once you understand the principles. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to teach you exactly one way to do it, and then you're going to become better in your own way, and you're going to find new ways to do it, right? But don't get ahead of yourself, because the first way I'm going to teach you works perfectly and is
yeah.
like more than 95% of the people with content out there.
So, I mean, you outright said, those that come and do this are not Brian. You had an audience that followed you somewhat. I know you built it even further from there. But the question always comes up, what if my audience or my list is zero, right? And Mike mentioned it here. Does the training cover how to drive free traffic, or do you have to have a list? Or what does it cover in terms of audience building?
Well, so for example, there's one thing we haven't touched on about this piece of content. Beyond the connection it makes, this piece of content is a source of every other piece of content that you
Yes.
create, right? Because at the core of it, the theme of it is what people have to believe. And this is what is unique about you. It goes against the status quo, so you stand out. It's a story your particular prospects want to hear, so it's appealing, right? So all your future newsletters, articles, blog posts, and social media posts all come from this. Now, this
Hmm.
is particularly where AI is important, because you can have this piece of content and then set your AI on
Train
it
your
and
AI.
say,
Yeah.
right, and I need some great, 280 character post on this for Substack notes or what have you, or create a LinkedIn post off of this, right? that's how you get traffic.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it used to be. You just that's the point though,
Yeah.
right? You can't just post content to build your personal brand. You got to make people think differently. You got to
Yeah.
connect with them right in the heart, right? Right in the gut. That's the point. So to answer a very excellent question, the way we drive traffic to email subscribers to sales is still, I'm a fan of Substack, right? It's
Yeah.
designed to drive their notes platform directly onto your email list. But people have strategies for LinkedIn. You
Hmm.
get a bunch of followers and then you slowly migrate them onto an email list.
Yeah.
Either way, you've got to stand out. Either
Yeah.
way, you've got to connect with the right people. And in the process, you may alienate the wrong people. Who cares? That you don't
Yeah.
want them on your list because they're not going to buy from you anyway,
Yeah.
right? So I wouldn't call this a traffic building course,
Agree.
but how do we build traffic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With content.
And your whole audience is going to be the person that believes what you're putting out there, right?
Absolutely.
And then it's just ways of finding them so that they say, "Oh, I believe that too," right? And that's what you're talking about with the social media, that the
But the
story.
key thing is it's also something new and
Yes.
different. It doesn't have to be actually new.
Yeah.
Like I always use Ryan Holiday as an example. Like he
Okay.
got people, basically people of his own millennial generation who were dissatisfied with their lives and modern culture and so he said, "You know what you ought to do? You need to adopt this 2,000-year-old Greek philosophy called Stoicism, right? Like who would have bet money on an entire millions and millions of dollars of career
Yeah.
on Stoicism?"
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it was new to his audience.
yeah.
It went against the status quo and
It's
it's what it resonated with him.
I have a friend, Brian, and she started like I'd say community with resources, and her whole thing was I became a mom, but I'm so tired about talking about being a mom that I want to be with women still, but talk about business. Right now, that is going like a lot of people will be like, "How dare you? You don't want to talk about being a mother. You don't want to talk about your child, ew, you know." But then there is a big group of people that is like, my gosh, yes, me too. I want to be in the room with you all, and I don't want to,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. So
I
that
mean,
is
how
like an
come it's okay
example.
for dads to say, "Oh man, I need a break from the kids," but like mom doesn't, who does all the damn work?
Yeah. So I just like I think it's such
Nothing against fellow dads.
no, no, but I think it just paints the picture of like that it's neither of these things is a new idea, right? Like being a mother, being a businesswoman, and wanting to talk about business is not a new idea, but putting them together where you're both, but you're,
Exactly. And it was
like,
her perspective,
yes,
it's her belief, and she wasn't
yes,
afraid to share it. And then
yes,
people said, "Oh yeah, I feel the same way." Everyone
100%.
has that,
Yes, yes,
right?
100%. Yes,
So
yes,
what I
yes.
do is basically help you recognize, okay, that, not this, and
Yes.
then take that and tweak it a little, and that's the direction
Yes.
you go in. That's what you build around.
Well, Mike has a similar question, and I think he just answered it again. And maybe we can get into what the training includes. But he's asking, like, he's taking courses from us, and he's has trouble though with coming up with this topic. Do we give anything in this course or training that helps support defining your topic?
Probably the best advice I give to people, that has nothing to do, well, that's not true. It does actually have a lot to do with psychology and marketing, is when you have a sense of purpose that relates to the problem that other people have. Um, it is the best way to convince people that you're the one that can solve the problem for them because it's relatable at an identity level,
Yeah.
right? If you're just some mercenary who says there's money in, solving home security problems, I mean, that's not the same as a guy who got robbed and decided, right?
Yeah.
So it's more important than you think
Yeah.
to your topic that it come from you. And then sometimes we're like, people are like, well, I have nothing like that. That's impossible.
Yeah.
Trust me, I will pull it out of you.
Yeah. And
And I
yes,
have, like, right up front,
yes.
I give people stuff to work on to do this. And once it gets your gears turning, then the whole rest of the course starts falling into place for you.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I'm going to tell you how to write this thing
Yeah.
so that it is just like, boom. Like,
Yes.
you
Well,
are my person.
and
But it
Brian,
still has to come from you.
but on that as well, I think like maybe the first time in a very long time that we've offered this music, you're going to give feedback on that initial thing that's going to help launch the whole entire thing,
This is
right?
the first time I'm doing this because I've done this with my own people, and they do such a good job. They get so close. And I look at it and I'm like, that's right there. But if you say it this way, and they're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like I got to do that part.
Yeah. So it's an incredible ad. Like we were all shocked, honestly, that Brian is willing to do this for everyone. So let's walk through, Brian. Can you just paint a picture of what the 4 weeks at least include? There's so many bonuses, you guys, with this. You'll be able to see those all in the links. But let's just talk about the 4 weeks of training. We start on the 27th. It's 2 p.m. Eastern time. Those are the logistics. Recordings get posted. You don't have to be there live, but can you walk them through the 4 weeks for us, please, Brian?
Yeah, so the first week, like I said, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I give you up front. Um, like, I really want you to pay attention to that. It's part of the course, even though the lessons haven't started yet. If you get stuck, don't worry, because I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go over it with you in the first lesson, first week. Um, but I don't need you to come up with the answer. I need your brain to be working on it in the background. So you read all this stuff, you look at the worksheets, maybe you attempt to fill them out. If you get stuck, it really doesn't matter, honestly,
Yeah.
because your subconscious is going to start working on this stuff in the background. Then you show up for the first week, and I'll give you a whole bunch more context on what we're trying to do. But the gist of it is we're going to find the one thing that you need to make your prospects believe in order to do business with you. And like I said, that doesn't come from out there, that comes from you, right? I'm just going to help you identify it and shape it. So that is week one. And honestly, that is the most important week because everything about this piece of content that we're creating is about making the case for that belief. Now, the mistake I've seen people make is they understand what they need people to believe and they just blurt it out in a social post or something, or they just assume people are going to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how persuasion works. We've
Right.
got copywriting techniques. We've got persuasion techniques that I learned as an attorney. We've got stuff that goes back to Aristotle. We're going to put all of it into effect to make sure that once we identify this belief, that they're going to accept it.
Wow. So let me see if there's any other questions that we have that came in. I know that this came in last week, Brian. Two things. If I have content already, can I still, like, if I have something that's already built, right? Can I still take this and use this and apply this? And then if I have nothing and I'm only getting started, what do I need in order to start this? Or is there any prerequisites that you would say?
Yeah, there's two type of situations, and I think you just identified both of them with people. And a lot of my people that I've worked with coaching wise, they've been doing this for a while. Some of them have even had some success. They just want more.
Mm,
And then we work on it, and most people just tweak things. They just tweak what they've been doing. They've got a better value proposition, a better promise, a better belief, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's
better
awesome.
content up the top of the funnel, I would imagine.
Yeah. And then I've got people who go, I need to start over. But they're okay with it because they're so excited that they found
Yeah.
out what they really care about, what their real purpose is, and understand how to execute on it.
Yeah.
Then there's the people who have nothing, and they're really honestly in the best position because they're beginner's mind. They've got nothing that they're attached to. They've got nothing that they've done all this work on and have to give up, which can be painful, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is it called? Sunk cost fallacy. When you value what you have to, like, you've already lost it. It didn't work, and yet you're sad about it.
Yeah.
But beginners have no sadness. They just get started off on the right way. So ideally, you're a total beginner, but most people are not.
Mm.
And either way, it's going to be great. It's going to work out
Yeah.
because what you're after is the successful audience, right? Um,
Yeah.
so either way, but I would say most people who have existing content have already been working at this. They just need to reposition
Yeah.
themselves. But there have been a few people who just discovered through the process that they really wanted to do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's find, and if any other questions come in, please, let us know. But Ryan, something we haven't touched on or haven't really spoken about, like how good does it feel? Like like from the creation of this process to then when you have that audience that is like-minded and united, like how does that feel as in your position when you create this?
It's the best thing in the world. And my main goal over the last 20 years is to never take it for granted.
Mm,
And that's why I would try just as hard with the seventh product launch as the first, because I never wanted to take the audience for granted.
yeah.
I wanted them to see that I had their best interests at heart, that we had worked a whole year on this thing because it was right for them, not just so we could make more money.
Yeah.
But guess what? It was right for them, and we did make more money.
Yeah.
And there ain't nothing better than that.
No.
I'm sorry.
Nothing. No. I mean, like it just seems like a business model that leads to like only having happy customers, right? Because upfront, you're so blatantly clear with who you are and what you're going to put out and who you're attracting, right? So it's not like a
Right.
bait and switch like down the line.
I think people are most afraid that they're going to have to be something they're not.
Mm,
And yet you hear people saying, be authentic. But what does that mean? Well,
yeah.
this is what it means. It's being authentic in a way that is perfectly designed to connect in the right way with other people. I mean, being authentic isn't sharing what you had for lunch or going on a rant when you're in a bad mood. I've done all of that, by the way. But it's not it's not what it means. Authentic means you're your true self in the best way possible for your audience because you're there to solve their problem, and in return they will reward you, right? And
Yeah.
that's how business is supposed to work.
Oh, that's so funny. So this is what Pamela says. So in theory, so your theory includes latching onto something unique about your own belief system that may be offensive to many, but that few will agree with. Is that how you would put it, Brian?
I don't know that it'll be offensive to many
Yeah, agree.
necessarily, but it'll
Yeah,
be offensive to some.
yeah,
And it's more than a few will agree with. A few will go, "Oh
yeah,
my God, this is my person,"
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's the thing. You
yeah,
don't want someone to agree with you. You want someone to go, "Where have you been my whole life?"
yeah. Identify.
Right?
Yes,
Right.
yes,
And when you stand up for anything, people are going to say, "No, you're wrong," or
yeah,
in most cases on social media, people might say things that they don't agree with you, or depending on where you hang out, it's rare that someone's going to attack you. If
yeah,
you're in the realm of politics or a few other areas, you're more likely to get attacked. But for most stuff, Now, people just disagree with you,
Yeah.
or they ignore you, or they unsubscribe.
Yeah.
People get so upset when people unsubscribe, and I love it because, well, I don't have to talk to that person anymore
Yeah.
because they were not the right person.
But what I wanted to garner from Pamela is that the intention is not to attract everyone, it's to attract the
That's
right
the main
people.
point. And
Yeah.
that's most people make bland, generic content
Yeah.
because they're afraid if they stand up for something, someone might call them an ugly name on the internet. But you got to stand for something. I mean,
Yeah.
we know this
Yeah.
from everything we've been, acquainted to, from nursery rhymes to fairy tales to the stories that inspire us in life. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about standing for what you believe in. And then we get to content, and all of a sudden, everyone's afraid. No,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It really is the secret to it all,
Agree.
especially if you do it the correct way.
Agree. I cannot wait to get started with this with you. We're starting on the 27th of February, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you sign up now, that pre-training is there. It is so comprehensive that it's going to help you hone in your idea, hone in your belief, but also just get a general feel for all the ideas that Brian is going to introduce to you. And I think he even wrote it in that training, Brian. If it doesn't come to you straight away, don't worry. This is going to be 4 weeks of us, putting this all together. But I am excited for everyone to join us. 11-day countdown. We'll see you there. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone for being here. This is awesome. And yeah, I'm excited to do this. This is
Yeah.
this is a first. We're going to do a lot of first here,
Yeah.
but that's why I teamed up with you guys. You can make it all happen.
Agree.
Help me deliver what I know is going to be life-changing to
Agree.
people.
Yeah. Alrighty. We'll see everyone there.